Welcome, everyone, to What the Force, and welcome to my post-mortem on Star Wars Celebration. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and I'm going to be solo, although I did record some things at Celebration, so I'm going to be cutting, I guess, my thoughts into this conversation and discussion with myself. I'm going to be cutting in some clips as well as some sort of things I recorded while I was at Celebration, just to kind of fill out my thoughts on what happened and how it went and sort of how I'm feeling about the whole thing. Because especially with the Anthony Breznican Variety article that came out that said, maybe we just need star peace, as if that was some sort of answer to everything that's wrong with fandom and groups of people that come together. I really have a lot of thoughts on both what Star Wars Celebration did well as maybe what it didn't do so well. And I think that that's really, really important to get to, as well as to give you a very realistic view of what Star Wars Celebration is. Before I get into it, I just want to say it is not what many people show on the internet, right? It's not what is presented on the Star Wars show. It is not what people who are given media badges, not that I wasn't one of them, are sort of shown to show, right? It is not, you don't have the ability to see everything within Celebration. You have to pick and choose. Sometimes things are interrupted or you don't get into certain events. And there is certainly an amount of, if you spend money right up front, the Jedi passes or the VIP or allow you VIP access to things. But if you're just kind of a normal person going to Celebration, it might not live up to your expectations of what is being sold to you out there on the internet. That being said, I had a wonderful time. I always do. This is my second time. I hope to be able to go again. I think that it's just really important to have a realistic view of what is happening. Just to give you some context, I have gone to Star Wars Celebration twice now. And in previous years, I would always watch Celebration online. And for the most part, the coverage was really excellent. You got to see kind of the major panels. You got to hear about the major releases. There's kind of been a shift this year in Celebration, and I just want to put that caveat out there. There's certainly a more a feeling that things should be more exclusive to the people that are in the audience at Celebration, those that paid the money to be there, or even those that were paid the money to be there and then were lucky enough to be in the location at the right time in the right place or get a draw. And I'm really struggling with that as far as especially kind of the propaganda-like nature of saying that everything is sunshine and roses if we could all just live at Celebration. Because it's really just not the case. It really isn't. Overall attendance, I think ReadPop reported it at over 65,000 people, which is really, really solid. We don't have gender breakouts or anything like that, but that should be available by ReadPop as badge activation required that information. One thing I did notice before kind of going in on the Thursday is that the vaccination and badge will call was really excellent. It was really, really easy to do. Took no time whatsoever. But even starting there, masking was kind of intermittent, and the expectations on people were really that they would be voluntarily obeying the rules. And I don't know that that was sort of enough. I had kind of gotten the impression that maybe there wasn't enough Read Pop staff already, even before Thursday on the Wednesday when I picked up my pass and did my vaccination check. And that theme continued. Welcome to my day one coverage of Star Wars Celebration. I have had a very crazy day so far. So this is Thursday day. I had not expected to get into the Lucasfilm Showcase. A friend had an extra QR code and so ended up passing that on to me, and I was able to get into the Galaxy stage to watch the Lucasfilm Showcase, and I'm so glad I was there. So I can tell you all about it. However, it is kind of unfair how it was all framed. In previous years, sort of the larger panels were always streamed to the Star Wars show stage to show kind of everything that was going on in those panels. And this year it was not. I can kind of think of a variety of reasons, but it covered the Lucasfilm Showcase covered so much. And then also ended up kind of giving out, I don't know, an interesting opportunity to those who were in attendance. So I was there all alone, and I actually ended up getting a little bit of audio clips, etc. So hopefully I'll be able to include those in the show itself here, so you can kind of experience everything that was going on. First off, the show itself was hosted by Yvette Nicole Brown, who many of you might have recognized from or would recognize from the show Community. She actually played Shirley on Community. She's wonderful and such a joy and is a self-proclaimed Star Wars fan like us all. That was like the big theme. They did this big intro video where, you know, it was showing like all of these different stars, and they were all like, and I'm a Star Wars fan too, just like you. But it always had kind of a certain flavor to it, and it was a little odd, I gotta say. But I think that Star Wars Celebration always kind of has that intro to it in the opening showcase, like, oh, this is Celebration, and they always bring us back to the first Celebration and show us exactly kind of why we're all here, which is the fans. So they started out with Kenobi. They brought Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen on stage along with Kathleen Kennedy, and they talked a little bit about their characters and where Kenobi is at, and how good it is to be back, and how good it is and nice to be in front of the fans. And then they told us, instead of showing us another trailer, because the show is going to be out later on tonight, in the middle of the night, starting tomorrow, they actually said that anyone who is watching the panel in one of the streaming rooms or in the celebration stage live could come back tonight to watch it at 7:00, which at the point that I'm recording this is in a very short period of time. In fact, it is in 3 hours. So whatever plans people had made in the evening are suddenly like out the window. They are now potentially going to the Kenobi panel, and you were given a wristband, and you can come back and go and watch it in the room that you were in. So I was given a wristband. I'm looking forward to watching the show. I'm not able to record my deep dive until later on in the weekend just because of Celebration, etc. But it'll give me some more time to think about it, which is nice. Also, to experience Star Wars in front of a crowd is something that I missed. And yeah, it's interesting. Then, of course, we had Cassian up next. Cassian Andor, the Andor show, which is the name. They started out with the theme, which, of course, when Kathleen Kennedy and the director came on, they actually said that the new theme was composed by Nicholas Bertelli, who is quite known for Succession and Moonlight. And when I told Christy Crew over text, she was very, very excited. It sounds really, really interesting. It looks like Tony Gilroy came on and talked about how there's going to be 12 episodes in the first season and then 12 episodes leading up to where Rogue One starts. So it's going to feel like a continuous story. There are so many characters, I think hundreds of characters in the first season. And it's going to be out in August 31st this year. So pretty soon, August 31st, at the end of the summer, it will be premiering. I'm really actually excited for this. I absolutely love spy thrillers. They talked about how Cassian is starting out very selfish and needs to be is waiting for that awakening, which of course speaks to what I love to talk about. And I'm super interested in storytelling wise. They also talked about Mon Mothma. I'm sure you guys have all seen the trailer for this. She looks fabulous, and we get shots of Coruscant and really, really interesting things. There's also a character called Luthen Rio, who I'm really excited to find out more about as well. Who's played by Stellan Skarsgård. Man, Andor just had some fabulous, interesting feels to it. Like I felt really compelled by the trailer itself. Immaculate vibes, as they say. And I am looking forward to seeing more, of course. Up next was Willow, which, again, this is the Lucasfilm Showcase at Star Wars Celebration. So this kind of goes with the theme of the day, that everything feels very chaotic and like, what are we showing? We're not showing all Star Wars stuff, I guess. We're showing Lucasfilm stuff. Why don't they call it Lucasfilm Celebration? Oh, I don't know, because Star Wars is the reason that we're here. So in a Book of Boba Fett fashion, we have a completely different show inside of the main event. Not that I'm complaining. Willow is one of my favorite childhood movies, and I'm super looking forward to this show. John Kasdan and Ron Howard came out on screen. They're show running it. John Kasdan, it has a very frenetic energy to him. So there was a lot of what are we allowed to say? What can we do? It all felt very stressed, this experience. But we got introduced to the main characters, or the main three characters, in addition to, sort of the idea of the show, of course, with Warwick Davis returning as Willow. But we had three sort of heroines that are going to be, I guess, leading this journey. It looks like three heroines and maybe two guys are going to be, it's kind of a group of 5 younger kids. And that idea of itself, of it being like cusp and age, coming to age movie is really, really, or television show is really, really interesting to me. So first we have Kit, who is the child of Sorsha and Mad Mardigan. We also have a character named Dove, who is the kitchen maid of the castle or keep or wherever they're living when they start, and is in love with Kit's brother. So either unrequited or whatever. It's super exciting. And then we have Jade, who is an orphan who's wanting to train to be like a fighter. Really interesting choices. I'm really excited to see what they are going to pursue with Willow. It's really, really making me excited for the show. Oh, and we also found out that Warwick Davis's daughter is also going to be playing his real daughter his real daughter is playing his daughter in the show. So that's fun. And then his son is actually his stunt double. Oh, I loved it. Up next, we had John and Dave Filoni come out on stage. And there was this very weird moment where Kathleen tried to leave the stage and give the stage over to John and Dave. And John pulled Kathleen back and it was like he was being very bowing and prostrating to her. I would say it was bizarre. He pointed out that he could do none of this without her. Him and Dave could do none of this without her, and that she was the best producer he had ever worked with. And making it clear that
she's in charge. It was fascinating. I mean, something that like we need to put out there in the universe more, but it's not being streamed to the masses who actually need to hear it from John's mouth. And of course, Dave complained that John was going off script, and I don't know. There's a lot of wildness about it. We found out that Ahsoka is going to be premiering in 2023, and there was a little bit of a message from Rosario Dawson. Her who looks better. I still don't think I'm going to be covering the show, unfortunately, given a lot of the unsolved mystery of what happened and what we're willing to support as fans of a franchise. They also showed Mando season 3 footage, which featured Bo-Katan, and we had Katie Sackhoff join on stage. She looked fabulous. And there's this, it's exactly, the idea he has to go and redeem himself. So he has to go to the dead planet of Mandalore. I have a lot of hero's journey thoughts on this. It's going to be really, really interesting to see and really explore kind of where he's going with this. There's so much mythic stuff. I'm really looking forward to the Mandalorian panel now. Hopefully we get more of that concept stuff that they talk about, because there's a lot to dig into with what they presented, which is really only the audio. They had overlaid the footage we saw, overlaid from those Book of Boba Fett episodes where the armor is kind of calling out how he needs to be redeemed and what he needs to do to save himself. And then we had this really interesting interaction with Grogu and Bo-Katan, and she said, "Did you think that your dad was the only Mandalorian?" So fun. Lots of really, really interesting stuff. And then they had done work to bring Mandalorian props and different pieces to Celebration, which I really like this idea. They should have probably shown the Lucasfilm showcase to the masses, and then this Mandalorian experience where you go and see the props and stuff like that is just a specialty thing that you can go and look at Celebration. That's nice. That's cool. You can go see the costumes and the props and everything like that. Next up, they brought on John Watts and Chris Ford, who, of course, know Jon Favreau from the Spider-Man franchise. In fact, John Watts kept on calling him Happy on stage because multiple Johns on a stage. They are in pre-production for, of course, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which is a group of 10-year-olds who this will take place during the Mandalorian expanded universe time frame, so post Return of the Jedi. It'll be out in 2023, and it will star Jude Law, I guess, as the only adult in the room with a bunch of 10-year-olds. Basically, it's going to be a bunch of 10-year-olds who are kind of like I get the E.T. vibes. I get kind of the Goonies vibes. They're lost on a spaceship and they're exploring the Star Wars galaxy as a bunch of 10-year-olds. They said, even though it's about kids, it's not necessarily for kids, which is kind of a weird way to put that. But in some ways, I'm really excited about this because I really like the storytelling of John Watts. But also, there's nothing there's a lot of John and his friends vibe to what's happening in the Mandalorian expanded universe. And I don't know if there's any room for women. It's such a weird thing to say, but if only your friends help you make stuff and you're not friends with any women, there's not going to be any women storytellers. And you should look around and just be are there any women in the room? Or are there any people of color in the room? And there isn't. Maybe you have a problem. Then Kathleen Kennedy came back and they talked about how somebody who working for Lucasfilm had turned 90 this year. And yes, of course, John Williams' birthday was back earlier on in the year. And so they talked about him and his contributions to Lucasfilm and how we really don't have the Star Wars movies without the music of John Williams. And truthfully, I wholeheartedly agree. And then we got to see and hear a playing of the Kenobi theme. And if you haven't checked out that I did a recording of it. So you, of course, you as your can listen to it. I posted on Patreon, but also include it here.
Here's a bit now.
And then John Williams made a little joke about, and here it is.
Wonderful day to be with you. I know that this is a Star Wars celebration. And here's a little piece that is not Star Wars, but you might know it.
Indiana Jones? And yeah, that was the Indiana Jones theme. And that was a really great introduction to Harrison Ford coming out on stage to talk about Indy 5. And he shook hands with John Williams and everybody felt really overwhelmed. I gotta say, it's really interesting because people were really excited about Indiana Jones 5 and they were really excited about Willow for the most part, and Andor, I think. But I didn't see, and Kenobi, but I didn't see as much excitement about Mandalorian and Skeleton Crew, which is sort of interesting with Mangold producing, and they went into how important the Indiana Jones theme was for Indiana Jones, and they released the release date, of course, and they showed a little bit of a poster, a kind of teaser poster for it. Which will be June 30th, 2023. And then they went into the Imperial March and closed out the show. But that's like a lot of information and a lot of things that were covered and not a whole lot of Star Wars, truthfully speaking. Like with Willow and Indiana Jones and no movies, like have they completely moved away from movies? Are they scared to do another movie? It left me with more questions than answers in some ways. Nothing on the Acolyte, although like when it was going to be done. Skeleton Keys looks like it's going to be coming out before the Acolyte, but who knows? Maybe they just weren't ready to show it. Skeleton Keys is in pre-production and they're getting ready to actually start filming pretty shortly. So it looks like it's ahead of the Acolyte in release order. My guess is maybe Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Star Wars Skeleton Crew, it looks like it's ahead in release order from the Acolyte, which it also seems like this might be replacing Rangers of the Outer Rim. Maybe not. It definitely feels like there's a switch in what they've decided to do with the Mandalorian universe in general. And it did leave me with way more questions about, like, where are the movies? You know, almost every single person is there because of the movies or the animation or, you know, something big. And I don't know, it felt a little off for me. And then, you know, also gatekeeping, also keeping people out, also privileging. Like, yeah, you know, I got to be in a secondary stage to watch the stream, but nobody else at Celebration got to experience any of that new information. And I just don't understand some of the decisions that are being made to do this event, and then not like share at least some of this with the larger audience who can't travel, doesn't feel safe to travel, you know, can't be here. There's only a limited amount of stuff. It costs a lot of money to be here. Like, I don't get it. Truthfully, I don't get some of the choices. In addition to that, after that, I was heading over to Friends of the Force. I briefly dropped in there to watch them podcast on the podcast stage. And then I was heading over to watch Attack of the Chords on the Galaxy Stages panel. And I got in there. And then there was a false alarm evacuation where the entire Galaxy stage was evacuated and we all left the building. And then it was sent and all clear and we all came back in to finish that panel. And poor David Collins, poor everybody that was doing a panel and had to evacuate and then come back in. Maybe somebody pulled a fire alarm. We still don't know what happened with everything. David W. Collins was able to finish his panel, and then I was able to walk around and see some amazing folks that I've only known on Twitter or elsewhere. And I'm really happy that people seem to be appreciating with the Force and, shouting me out and saying, "Hey, MC, I can't believe you're here. It's nice to meet you. I love What the Force." And that's been bringing me a lot of joy that I'm doing something that people also appreciate. But if I had to summarize day one so far, again, I haven't gone to the Kenobi premiere yet, which I will be going on in about an hour here to go line up. I have to say it's a lot of chaos. Reed Pop seems super underprepared for this. They don't seem to have enough people. It always feels, I've been told it always feels like a disorganized mess the first day, but like this feels like not just like Reed Pop, but also like planning of like what to share, how to share it, but maybe that's just where they're at. They're still kind of a mess. We'll see.
So I saw Kenobi in the theater. It was just as wonderful as watching any live action Star Wars in a movie theater. It was pure joy to be surrounded by people who got all the references and shouted out about Leia and Alderaan and being able to enjoy all of that inside of a theater. And it really actually made me question why this ended up as a television show instead of a movie like it was long rumored to be. If you want to hear my immediate reaction that I recorded at midnight after seeing the premiere with a friend, Michael Cohen, who was so wonderful to join me as I blathered on in a very tired state. Go check that out. I'll link to it in the liner notes. As well as the deep dive show that I'm going into. It's exactly what I hoped for, and oddly, I felt very satisfied watching the show. And then the cast and crew, which was really special because it was a red carpet event. The cast and crew actually came out after. We got to see the producers, we got to see Ewan and Hayden, and of course Vivian, who plays little Leia. And yeah, she's adorable. She hugged everybody. She's perfect. I really, really loved what they did. But again, there was this feeling of exclusivity and there's only so much. And I really love how they did it, where they released it and then immediately released it on Disney Plus. So there wasn't any chance of spoilers or anything like that. I just wish that they had been, I don't know, able to make it happen for more fans who had made it all the way there to Celebration from all over the world. All right, let's dig into day 2. So day 2 for me started out with the Light and Magic panel, which again, I was watching in the Galaxy stage. So that was actually a lot of fun. I didn't need to be in the big room for it because, of course, unfortunately, Larry Kasdan wasn't able to attend. But we had some really wonderful behind the scenes conversations with ILM creators. Tom Spina, of course, was there. This was primarily shown and produced by Ron Howard. So, of course, he was there. It it just was a really fun event. And it's one of the things that I'm actually really looking forward to that will be released on Disney Plus, just kind of understanding the early days of light and magic, or of ILM, industrial light and magic. This actually happened over top of my good friend Brandon from Talking Bay's panel. He had a podcast stage, and he actually had the wonderful Matt Martin on that podcast, and I will link to their podcast recording just so that you can also experience that, because I mean, the more that you can actually hear from what was going on in Celebration, the better. And some of the better things that happened actually were on smaller stages, University Fan, Twin Suns, etc. After that, I went to the 20th anniversary celebration stage panel. And this day, because it was the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones, was really wonderful because we got to see so many brilliant Padme cosplays. There was almost zero Anakin cosplays, but we got to see so many brilliant Padme cosplays all the way through the convention. And it was really great. We got to see some behind the scenes with, some of the actors. There was a lot of Tamora Morrison, of course, talking about his experiences, how much he had hair back then, a lot of those sorts of things. But there was zero mention of Padme during the actual panel. In fact, even when Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen came out, there was still no mention of Padme or Natalie Portman or anything. They could have had all of those wonderful cosplayers come up on stage, and they didn't. It was such a weird and disappointing choice, and really, I don't know, took away from such a unique area of the fandom that all of these amazing cosplayers who have designed costumes and are wearing them specifically for this day because of the love of this character and that they want to show them off, and zero mention. Oh, wait, no, I should actually say there was a mention. So every time that they have a event on the celebration stage, there is some warm-up games or improv, and this time there was a sort of pose game that happened just before the 20th anniversary panel. And a pregnant lady came up on stage and was so good at it because she chose all of the very extreme, pleasing to the crowd ideas. So she was very pregnant and she pretended to be dead Padme. It was very dark humor. The crowd went along with it. And yeah, that was the only mention of Padme during the 20th anniversary Attack of the Clones panel. Disappointing. The next up, I went to the Skytalkers podcast stage, which of course they are great. They're all wonderful live. They interact with the audience well. They allow the audience to ask questions, which is really, really great. And I'll link to in the liner notes as well to their episode recording, because check them out. They're always wonderful. And then after that, I had the opportunity to go to Star Wars night at Disney. So many people, of course, took the advantage of this to be able to go and have like fully Star Wars themed night at Disneyland. It was a blast. I got to hang out with some of the coolest people who all just like wanted to do stuff together. We got to do Smuggler's Run together. I did Hyperspace Mountain, which for this month has been changed to have Star Wars theme. It's great. Also seeing the March of the First Order with Phasma marching down was really fun. The fireworks, but with to John Williams music that were customized to show sort of themes and colors. I had, I think it's called a Benini. Maybe it was a little Yoda shaped sort of donut like thing with a dip, with a matcha dip. Oh, it was so good. The food was fun. The experiences was fun. The vibe of just being at Disneyland after dark, but having everybody either dressed up or wearing their Star Wars stuff or carrying around their lightsaber. It was so much fun. And I'm very privileged to have been able to do both. I know a lot of people either couldn't get Star Wars night tickets, or of course, weren't doing as much that day. And yeah, people were really excited to be there. They ran into people at the event. It was really interesting. I just wish things were, of course, more accessible for more people. On to day 3, and the big showrunner, of course, was the Mandalorian Plus panel, which I have some audio for, so I'm just going to do some clips from it so I can let it speak for itself a little bit. Here is On to the Mandalorian panel. Here we go.
Please join me in welcoming executive producers John Favreau and Jake.
To me, it's been a dream come true. I've always loved Star Wars. I grew up watching Star Wars, and the type of story that I wanted to tell really suited the small screen, because I wanted to really characterize something about a few characters and a personal story set in that world, so that we had something to grow. And also an opportunity to bring new people in who might not be up on all of the lore. And then this became kind of an entry ramp, and then people, as we introduce characters that have existed before, thanks to the Disney Plus streaming service, they can go and watch everything. And so what we were most proud of was not just that people watching our show, but then all of the viewership was going up for the old movies and also for the animated series. So I felt like we felt like we're testifying.
Dave, do you care to comment?
No, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really good. Follow TV all day long. But every other secret we've ever had has come out. We've never made a casting announcement. I never come to repeat that, so I don't think actually, television, especially this type of TV where you get, whatever it is, so 6, 8, 10 of them a year, and they pick up and leave off, and I think that those chapter stories are very fun to write and very fun to explore what characters can do. And there's an adventurous spirit to how we write them, because we're thinking about what set pieces, what environments, what creatures, what characters we could meet. And we know that we can tell the story over the course of many, many hours. We don't have to solve everything in an hour and a half or 2 hours of the movie. So there's a tremendous amount of freedom for storytellers.
None of the very fun. Yeah, I love talking to you guys about the Mandalorian, but I think we should involve one more person in this conversation we're going to talk about. Just one. Without further ado, would you guys join me in welcoming the Mandalorian Panel?
That's gotta feel nice. Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Forgive me also, I've lost my hearing over the years as well, so I'm just scared of screams.
Do you have a favorite reaction you've seen to the Mandalorian since the premiere?
A favorite reaction to, honestly, there are too many. These two geniuses over here, honestly, created. Luke would be up there,
Well, we fell in love with you as Daddy did. How tough was it to be separated from Grosgu for that period of time, and now you guys are reunited?
It's very hard to be separated. It's the closest I've ever come to being dad, and so far anyway. And if you watch the show and to see a child love his father like that, I mean, I get it. Maybe I should have it.
Now for Dave and John, it seemed like we weren't going to see Grosgu for a long time. A lot of people speculated after that second season that maybe there would be a time jump, maybe it would be a while. Can you talk about what went into bringing them back together in the Book of Boba Fett?
Before. I mean, yeah. I think, what was interesting was that we already had planned to have Luke train in that. But what was very interesting about that was we had only had, 6 or 7 shots in the previous season. And we thought it looked okay, but we wanted to look better. So I don't think you're actively solving that visual effect as you're doing it. And you have a lot more they thought to be an integral part of the story. But in that time period, it made sense that Luke would be the one to train his child, not just because he's a great character, because of the way he thinks of the Force and versus the Force and how he's interacting with Grogu was a way to kind of continue this ideology about the Force and this philosophy that was set up in the original trilogy. So I like everything we did. There was a tremendous amount of thought put into it, and for that, one reason I wanted to direct the episode was because it was, the bringing together John's character and George's character, and I wanted to kind of caretake over that as it happened, and then I brought in Ahsoka to kind of make sense, and it made a significant moment. It's funny, I don't think of those things much when it's happening, then if you look at your daughter saying it's Mark Hamilton, oh wow.
I think from a story standpoint, too, it's interesting that each character has to sacrifice a little bit of what they stood for because of the relationship with Pedro taking off the helmet, and also with the kid turning away from the training and he yielded his lightsaber to make the choice because of the emotional relationship, which has always been a big part of Star Wars, about Luke's decisions that Luke has made to sacrifice, the whole notion of attachment to family versus commitment and discipline. And it also is a bit of a throwback, I felt like, to Paper Moon, where you think the whole movie's about reuniting Tatum O'Neal with her aunt, and then she runs back and decides to forego the cushy life that she could have, and runs back to be with Ryan O'Neal, and that bonds and families form in interesting ways.
Now, you three are each trio that brings the Mandalorian to life. What is it like to work together, work off each other, and embody this character together?
Wow.
I don't know any of the way John did here an amazing job creating a 3-person character.
Wow.
Everybody's so generous. Never sees Métis and the way we work is so inclusive, and it's
face.
I met Métis 2 projects ago. He was on Kingston with me, and then he was on another one. And when I found out it was going to be, I was thank God that he just looks like such a bad. And John had talked to me at the start about Brendan and John Wayne's grandson, and so I can never ever do what they do, but I learned so much from the two of them, and Brendan's Kate, and just learning basically how to share scene with them. It really, that for me, started with them.
Funny story about our training.
Yeah.
So a couple years or 3 or 4 years ago, I was working with Pedro, and I was training him for his fight scenes on Kingston too. And this is like around the 6th or 7th month. And I think we're tired, we're both like kind of burned out by that time. And then I'm like, all right, we're ready to get warmed up. He's like, you know what? You want to just go get a burger for lunch? And I right away I was like, I love this dude, man. Here he is, I'm like, okay, I gotta look good, I gotta be this some guy for him, and look like I'm doing a diet, and like, nah. So he said, over here. I'm like, thank God, man. Like, and to tell you guys the truth, it's who I work with, it's usually the most talented people who are always the humblest. There's no egos, and none of these guys have any ego, and they're some of the most talented people I've ever worked with in this business. Where did you say, what was getting and obviously the Kings at the end. But it's always been apparent to me the responsibility we had in creating the Mandalorian in whatever way we were able to add to it, because you all matter to us. Like, we want to service you in a way that makes you happy and proud of your fandom and the things you bring to us, the energy being here. I think about it every day and say it around there.
The Mandalorian is definitely some enemies along the way. Please put your hands together for John Reylo. How are we doing? Doing all right? Good. Yeah. John Carlo. Got a bone to pick with you. Back in season 1, I said, you better not touch the hair. I'm happy to be on his head.
I will squash that little I really do. I want the child within me to come back through the child within Grosgu. And that child has been reunited with its big boy here through the experience of this show. And I'm hoping that for all of you out there in the audience that happens and has happened throughout this particular hero's journey. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
How much do you know about his backstory?
Well, I make up a whole backstory for myself, and sometimes that doesn't quite coincide with what his backstory really is. But it gives my imagination a chance to really soar. And it gives me a chance to really drop into a character that is full and complete and honest and truthful. When I'm talking to our creators about this show, they give me hints. And those hints allow me to then allow my imagination to soar and then take what's on the paper and fill in all the other blanks. Which is the wonderful thing about this particular show.
I know a bit about the Star Wars franchise from the beginning, and then I catch up as I go. But when you work with guys who really are as playful as any you will ever meet, and as very specific and succinct about what they write, you get a sense just being in their presence of what they want. And you get a sense when they guide you that it could be this, it could be that. The most compelling moments for me are last season when John and Dave came down and observed what was happening on the big starship between me and some other characters. And John looked at me and said, you've done this a long time. You've brought a lot of ideas to it. I trust you. I trust that you intrinsically know. And I gotta go, but I'll be back and check on you and do what your instincts allow. And so when you work with folks who allow you to extend yourself, that empowers me. And isn't that what our show is about? Empowerment. And I thought, to know that there's nothing that we can't do. That moment, John, changed my existence as an actor. I've been doing it a long time, and allowed me, it didn't go to my ego, it went to my heart and to my soul. But I thought, what is the truth that I'm trying to tell here? What is my information? How am I informed, and what is my intention? And it elevated me and uplifted me, and I'm thankful for that particular moment. I'll never forget it.
The Armorer. Some iconic lessons, iconic phrases. Do you have a favorite lesson from The Armorer?
I don't know if I really said anything that memorable. Yeah, nothing comes to mind. Oh yeah! No, somebody asked me once at a convention. They said, "So did you just ad-lib that line and then they decided to use it?" And I thought, I wonder how far that would get. And I said, "Yeah, I came up with that." And then John and Dave were just like, "Oh, that's a really good idea. We should use that." How long have you guys have let me run with that?
You've earned it now.
It's an incredibly useful phrase, though. You can use it in a variety of circumstances. Oh my gosh, I love getting to live in her space because there are often people who will meet me at conventions, and it goes one of two ways. They'll either say, wow, I really hear her voice, or I can really tell, you're her, or they'll catch me when I'm in a more excited mood, and they'll say, you're really the Armorer? And this is why I love getting to inhabit her space. She's so good for me because she is so grounded, she is so patient, she is so wise, she waits, and I'm not somebody who likes to wait. And I think she says a lot of very smart things. I think one of the things off the top of my head that I really appreciated in season 1 was when Din Djarin had first come back and in that scene with, I think it was in episode 3, when he and Paz Vizsla were starting to get ornery with each other, starting to, get testosterone, come to blows. And they were about to fight, and then she was just like, all right, guys, simmer down. And she just reminded everybody that he had taken the same vow that all of them had taken, that he was abiding by the same creed that all of them had. And so even though there were some differences that had arisen, he'd been living a different way for a while, he hadn't been, in the fold, he was one of them. And he had made the same sacrifices. And so they could set aside all those differences. And I think that the reminder of that kind of bond of community is so important and so vital. And the fact that this show and that Star Wars has always reminded us of those kinds of messages, of the importance of family, the importance of community, is one of the reasons I love these stories so much. And I think that The Armorer continually reminds us of some of those really important heart soul themes, and I really appreciate that about her. Mr. Carl Leathers.
We love the support and we really love all of these lightsabers. Yeah.
We're finding out that a certain well-known character actually survived the events of the Sarlacc pit.
Everybody else is all the creators of 20 years ago, back in the day when I had hair. But yes, fortunately for me, it did go back to the year 2000. We shot Attack of the Clones in Sydney. George directed, of course. Wonderful time in Sydney, everybody. And many years later, I think Boba had to look a little bit like me, so. Okay, I want to thank everybody. Ming-Na sends her apologies. And also, as everyone else to say, we have a lot of crew and the people behind the scenes out there in the crowd with us. There's much people out there making us look good in front of the camera, so I want to acknowledge everybody from our crew.
So we've been very lucky to have Ludwig and his team, Joe Shirley, contributing to the and creating new themes for the Mandalorian and for the Book of Boba Fett. So it must be very daunting to try to sit alongside John Williams. And one of but Ludwig, part of what's fun about him is he's so creative, so prolific. This is one of the many things he does. He's doing, of course, features and working with Charles Gambino. So he's, but he has so many different aspects. So when first Mr. Boba Fett, there were lyrics that he saved for the last episode. So we listened to the end credits of the final episode. There's actually vocals and lyrics to the song.
Well, like I said at the beginning, we had a lot of ground to cover. We had a lot of catching up to do, since we haven't seen each other in a while. But as we move forward, let's bring out two people who might have some insight into what's to come in Mandalorian Season 3. Please welcome to the stage, Métis Nation and
Oh my God!
So, if I just might say, so Rick's been directing with us since the second episode of Mandalorian, and this year he's joining us as the executive producer for this. Oh man, I'm just finding out now. Thank you, guys. Now it's
Yeah, so that's a lot of information. A lot was shared as far as the actual trailer, or the clips from the actual trailer. The main thing that I think was really, really important that I took away from it was how it is continuing to follow the hero's journey. There's a lot of mythic symbolism. I hope we've moved far, far away from having Luke in the show. Unfortunately, I'm just not a fan of what they've... Unfortunately, I can't be happy about what's going on with Ahsoka, of course. So as long as it's Lucasfilm and the creators don't want to explain what happened or start to clear it up, it's going to be this mystery box that makes me deeply uncomfortable as somebody who supports trans rights to talk about. So I won't be covering the show. And that was a huge focus of the Mandalorian Plus panel, in addition to the amazing actresses that are joining the show itself, as well as we get Sabine, we get Hera, Vanessa Marshall is coming back as Hera. And this breaks my heart that I can't support those people in addition to not knowing what happened. It started out and it actually had the Mandalorian come out, but in the 3 parts of him. So this was, of course, Pedro Pascal coming out, and Lateef Crowder and Brendan Wayne also joined the stage. And this is something that I've been, complaining about for a little while, and was a really wonderful thing to kind of see how, and they talked about how they worked together as a unit, how they all make up the Mandalorian. And then in the end, they ended up being able to be acknowledged as a working unit that created the Mandalorian. And I really felt like that was a really important thing to call out. The coolest thing that happened right near the end was John and Dave pulled out the Grosgu Puppet, and he looks real. When they pulled him out, he was standing, he sat down, he looked around, he moved his lips. It was really great to actually see him act in and be used on the stage. It was really, really great. I'm blown away by how much they've improved the puppet and how wonderful he looks. And yeah, everybody just loves him. After the Mandalorian panel was This Is the Way, Joseph Campbell and the Mandalorian panel on the Twin Suns stage. And this has actually been hosted by John Booker, who is the creative director of the Joseph Campbell Foundation. And I was over the moon to hear that John was actually putting on a panel. I hyped it up a fair amount beforehand, and he has given me the permission to actually have all of the audio released on What the Force as a sort of a replay. So he recorded the audio. He sent it to me. I will be sharing that audio probably the week after this comes out or the week after that, just so that I can get that out. I just want to make sure to record a little explanation. The panel was wonderful. They had questions from the audience. It was really a spectacular event. After that, I recorded with 3 of the 4 panelists from the This Is the Way panel. I can't hype this up enough. It's going to be really, really wonderful. We recorded on why mythology is important and why Star Wars stories from a mythological lens are important. Don't miss it. It was one of the most important conversations of my podcasting career. I really, really loved it. I can't wait for you all to listen to it. And that will be coming out after the Mandalorian This Is the Way panel. I feel like they are complementary and certainly something to be consumed in order, if that makes sense. While that was on, while I was recording, actually the Tales of the Jedi panel was out there with, of course, Dave Filoni. He actually showed a short episode of the Tales of the Jedi, which is set before the Clone Wars, and it's literally going to be Tales of the Jedi. It looks really exciting. Everyone came up to me after we got all back together and told me that I would love it. So if I love it, I'm guessing that you're going to love it too. I'm really excited. That's going to be out in this fall. Another thing that was announced at the same time, which was a really fun sort of experience for me to be like, oh, you're doing this. Oh, that was announced, is Young Jedi, which is going to be sort of a show that will be targeted at 5 to 8-year-olds, and it will be little kid Jedi going on adventures. And to me, this really, really felt like the kid Jedi part of the Clone Wars where we had, Katuni and Genji. It's going to be like their adventures, but it's set in the High Republic. So there's no threat of Order 66. There's just these Jedi living out their lives, and we're able to get introduced to them at this young age, which I think is just really, really wonderful. After the This Is the Way panel, I actually ran into the creator of it, who was just buzzing because he got to have an opportunity to tell people finally that he was doing this show. His name is Michael Olson, and I am absolutely happy to hear he's a Myth fan. He was really excited to hear about my podcast. We had a nice little chat. And so that was a really cool interaction that just like randomly happened to me at Celebration. Such a joy to actually be able to have that happen. In the evening, I actually hosted my own What the Force meetup, which was a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who was able to make it out. I gave out a little button that said Seek Joy in Macquarie font, which was designed by Michael Cohen, amazing artist. Thank you so much, Michael, for doing that for me. I got to meet people. I got thanked a lot for creating the podcast. And truthfully, I said it at the meetup and we got to take a picture, but this is hearing from people and hearing that my podcast makes a difference. Like, I primarily do this for myself, but when people tell me genuinely that it helped them or it helped them see Star Wars differently, it really, really, really helps. Like, it really helps me get through when I'm low on energy, when I'm like, oh my God, is this even like something that is valuable? And so thank you for telling me in person. It refilled my tank. It really did. I got to meet some really amazing people through that meetup, and shout out to every single one of you who came out and were able to express back to me what I've been expressing out to you all these years. After that, a few of us jumped in Ubers and went out to the Reylo Meetup on the beach, which was fun. We did a weenie roast. We did s'mores. We got to chat. We got to see what other Reylos are like. There was a lot of talk about smut fic, which was fun for me. And of course, just fun to be around like-minded people who see this story in the same way. That was just enjoyable. I would say whenever you have a chance to hang out with Reylos, always say yes. On to day 4. And by this point, I was exhausted. Like, it's so much to do Celebration. It's always so tiring. You're always go, go, go. As you can tell, like I said, I was morning to night every single day so far. And so I was really, really tired. But, Bad Batch Season 2, Bad Batch Season 1 I covered with Kyle, my husband, who will be, of course, back for Bad Batch Season 2. We like how we cover it. We like talking about the creators behind the scenes because it makes us recognize, like, hey, we loved Resistance, and there's a lot of the Resistance creators inside of Bad Batch. We love D. Bradley Baker. Getting to see Michelle Ong in person and how wonderful she is was just really, really wonderful as well. And Brad Rao, Jennifer Corbett, who was the main showrunner and creator, just getting her to see her on stage, as well as Matt Mitovich, who is the main script supervisor as well as one of the writers. Just these creators have been with Lucasfilm for a really long time and deserve all the love, and they're carrying on this animation torch. In fact, Dave Filoni came out on stage to be like, I trust these guys. I'm so happy that I've been able to hand off the torch. But it sort of feels like they're not getting as much love. The animation series aren't getting as much love nowadays, and that makes me really sad. I feel like they're contributing so much to the story, and they're wonderful. Just after the Bad Batch panel was the Visions Season 2 panel. Well, Visions. They had some of the creators as well as some of the voice actors, including Christopher Sean on stage. And they announced Visions Season 2. I wasn't able to be in the room, but I have friends who were live tweeting it and talking all about it. And I'm really, really excited to cover Visions Season 2. It deserves all the love in the world. It's Star Wars amped up to 11. I love it so much. I'm so happy that they've decided to pursue more stories with these creators. In fact, they're widening where the stories are coming from as well. There's going to be some Southeast Asian creators. There's going to be some European creators. I'm really, really excited to see this happen and expand to be a larger event. I ran into Phil Showstack ever so briefly. He is just a joy. He's such a wonderful person. He gave me a Return of the Jedi patch, an original Return of the Jedi patch. And I'm just over the moon. I got to actually stand next to him, meet him in person. Just an absolute joy. And one of my favorite experiences was interviewing him and getting to know him better in that form. Last up was the Creatures of the Return of the Jedi panel, which was put on by Blast Points. I'm not sure if they're going to be releasing the audio for that. I really hope they do. It was an absolutely fun panel, just absolutely wild, a lot of fun. The lineup was around the corner, huge amount of lineup to get in the room and be able to actually watch this panel. It should be in a bigger room next year if they decide to do anything else with anybody else. The Blast Points guys, Gabe and Jason, are just wonderful guys. And the last thing I did personally was get my photo taken, or the last thing I did personally was get an autograph of Kelly Marie Tran. I had her sign my Where's Rose book, which was created by After Blossom. She is just a joy. I am so happy her autograph sessions were sold out. She deserves all the love in the world. I'm happy to hear she's going to be coming back as Rose in the Lego Summer Special. I'm happy she still wants to be involved in Star Wars and really deserves so much love. And I'm happy she is feeling the love from the fans. There was never anybody who deserved more love from the fans than Kelly Marie Tran. All right, now into my general thoughts for the whole thing. All right. The Anaheim venue seemed smaller than the Chicago venue that I've been to in the past. And it was nice because it came with Disney. So people were able to hop over to the park or come early or come late and do a day at Disney after or before celebration, or do the Star Wars Disney night. The actual panel rooms, though, seemed small compared to Chicago, where the Galaxy stage in Chicago Celebration was huge. The Twin Suns stage was also quite large. This felt small and way smaller than, say, what Chicago had to offer. The mask mandate and checks for masks were barely kept up, and now, a week later, we've heard so many people had COVID develop from this. So essentially, Star Wars Celebration Anaheim was a super spreader event, and that's super disappointing. I don't have it. I was lucky. There are people who were not so lucky, and again, this disease is a killer. So we needed everybody to care for one another, one of the main lessons of Star Wars, and that did not happen, nor did the people organizing the event, Reed Pop, manage to maintain the mandate that they had set for the event themselves. Everything felt very chaotic. From the evacuation that happened on Thursday to how everything kind of kept going and going on. It definitely felt like ReedPop was understaffed, and I'm not sure that they had a really good idea of how they wanted to handle the content releases and what would be said. Like, they would be on the Star Wars Celebration stage and be like, and who was in the room for the Lucasfilm showcase? And like, people there couldn't say that they were, and then they were sad about it. That's really just not a great look. They should have at least shown it to the people in the audience, but our people on the celebration floor show floor. But if they weren't going to do that, if they were going to do that, they might as well just show and stream the major panels. Maybe cut to black or cut to the Star Wars show stage for 5 minutes while they were showing the exclusive Mandalorian information. I don't know. It just felt like being able to see John Williams perform across the world would have been great. Being able to see Harrison Ford on the stage would have been great. It would have created a lot more buzz if this had been shared to everybody. But that wasn't the choice that was made. And at least the bare minimum, it should have been shown to anyone who wanted to see it in celebration itself. Whoever was there on Thursday should have had an opportunity to see it on the Star Wars show stage. That's my opinion. Kenobi was a lot of fun. Having it released at Celebration was a lot of fun. I loved it. It feels like there's going to be more of a focus on live action in the future. And certainly it feels like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are heading that. But it also just feels like a lot of their friends, they're giving opportunities to people they already know and their friends are a certain type of person. And so it's not giving opportunities to others. And although I'm over the moon, Rick Famuyiwa is going to be an executive producer on The Mandalorian going forward. I hope that really helps the vibe and the feel of The Mandalorian. He gets symbolism and archetypes and the psychology of what we need from the show more than anything. It still feels like a boys' club. It still feels like a certain type of fans club. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, Kenobi has certainly shown to be something of value. They had a why they wanted to answer. And it's been really, really wonderful to see them execute on that. But I worry. I worry about that. And I want to see more storytellers be given the opportunity to tell Star Wars stories. More storytellers that can give more to the mythology, can give more to the lenses, and can give more to, I guess, the identification of the people on screen to the audience, because art is propaganda of the self. It definitely felt like the sequel trilogy was an anathema to some at Star Wars Celebration, just how it was treated, the merch available, and that it wasn't just like Rey and Kylo, it was Finn, Rose, Poe. Just not stuff available for them. Tons of Grogu, of course. Tons of original trilogy stuff, of course. But if you're a sequel trilogy fan, if you're a Rebels fan, if you're anything but what was currently being offered in the original trilogy, even Clone Wars stuff was very rare. It just feels like it has a problem with knowing how big the audiences are of the newer materials, perhaps. Just a general comment. And last, I think I need to talk about Anthony Bresnikan's Variety article, in that he said that things would be just so much better if we could all be there in person. And he commented on how Star Wars fans clash online, but in person, there's star peace. This is coming from a man who has never known what it's like to be an outsider in a fandom. The fandom is literally made for him, and we have over 40 years of women and people of color being pushed to the sidelines, or by mainstream fans, which he downplayed significantly the Phantom menace's effect of alt-right recruitment, as well as even the attacks on Moses Ingram this last week, which Ewan McGregor personally had to respond to. And when Vanity Fair was challenged in the tweet replies, they hid the replies. It felt very embarrassing. For the most part, though, it's just not true. The celebration itself is an exclusive event. It's not accessible to most people. There's a paywall. You have to pay a significant amount of money to be able to actually attend. And in that, if you are in the wrong group of people, and trust me, they were there, you could be treated badly, especially if you were from a more vulnerable population. Having something like Star Wars Celebration or Galaxy's Edge doesn't make things better for people who are already vulnerable. It just means that people can hide what they truly think when they're in person, when there's consequences like getting kicked out of Star Wars Celebration that you spent so much money on. That doesn't mean that it makes it better. We need to constantly be fighting racism and sexism online. We need to have tools to deplatform this ideology that is bringing up all the time. He also used the fandom menace and attacks on Moses Ingram and compared it to Reylos, who were mad about a fictional ship, who were also attacked by the fandom menace, I will just say. And also the uproar about Frog Lady, who I don't think he understands that telling a story that required sensitivity and a sensitive touch didn't happen. And so people were mad about, the lack of sensitivity around the character Frog Lady. Not that they shouldn't argue online about it. It feels like it's an out of touch understanding of what it's actually like to be in the fandom. There are points in Star Wars Celebration that I felt uncomfortable being alone. Was it okay for me to be like, I'm a Reylo, or I support Kelly Marie Tran all the time? I don't know. And I'm not even the most vulnerable person out there that could be treated terribly by the wrong fan at the wrong time. He also compared it to fan disagreements over the casting of Ahsoka, which is all muddled inside of the fact that there is this mystery box transphobic situation that we don't have a resolution for. He said it's mostly settled. It's absolutely not settled. I struggle. If this is the type of fan that people think or Star Wars is about, it's not. I would say almost half of the population of Star Wars Celebration was women, and they were not being catered to, they were not being understood, and they were not being protected. A, from the COVID, B, from the sexism. I know multiple people that were harassed on site, and I don't know if they were able to actually report it or not, but what would Repop do anyways if they were so understaffed? This is just not what... Anthony, come on, dude. Talk to somebody else other than yourself, please. So here's the truth about Star Wars Celebration. I had a glorious time. Getting to know people and getting to see people in person, getting to experience Star Wars live, Kenobi being the example. But it comes with a cost. It comes with waiting It's not exactly what it looks like online. A lot of people smooth over the rough edges of what they experience because they're filled with a lot of wonderful experiences themselves and don't want to point out the hardness. I had several friends who had several rough experiences while at Star Wars Celebration, and those are not brought to the forefront. And that's unfortunate because I think it's really important to be realistic if you're going to a large con like this, especially if this is your first time going to a large con and experiencing what happens. So with that, I'm going to leave my thoughts, which is, this was a lot. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed my, ramblings. But I really wanted to get this out, that what my experiences at Star Wars Celebration are. Do I plan on going to the next one? The hope is that I will, because it is a blast. But realistically, it's hard. So understand that it's go, go, go. It's hard to do everything that you might want to do. There's a sense, and I fear that it will be more and more moving into this exclusivity method. And so it might be better just to catch up on the news at home, truthfully. Well, that was everything from me. And thanks for listening to my Star Wars Celebration tea. Cheers. Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our intro and outro is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We would like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love What the Force: Melody, Night Huntress, In Wild Space, Felicia, How Rude, Anna Perez, Neil, Joe Allen D, Christian Luca, Josh Johnson, Scott C, and Susan. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps others find the show. Check out our other channel on YouTube, What the Fiction. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or our website, whattheforce.ca, and our Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.